The sound cracked through the kitchen like a pistol in an empty street. Porcelain scattered across the warped pine floor, bright white against the dark. Steam from the kettle curled in the air, soft and slow, like it didn't know it should have stopped. The housekeeper stood over the mess, her bare hands at her sides. She didn't bend to clean it. Her gaze stayed locked on the broken cup as if it had opened its mouth. "I didn't drop it," she said. From the doorway, the judge's daughter leaned against the frame, arms folded. Her braid hung loose over one shoulder, the end frayed like she'd chewed it. "Nobody else here, miss." The housekeeper's eyes twitched up, sharp and pale. "Something can fall without a hand." The girl's voice was dry. "Not in this kitchen." A draft moved through the room, rattling the lace at the window. The kettle whined. Neither reached for it. "You're not supposed to be in here," the housekeeper said. "I wasn't, until I heard that. That's not your concern. It is when you talk to cups." The housekeeper's mouth curved, something between a smirk and a warning. "You've got a tongue too sharp for your own teeth." The girl stepped closer. The floorboards creaked under her boots. "That cup's been here longer than you. My mother brought it from town. She said it was her favorite." "I know what she said." "How?" The housekeeper bent at last, gathering the larger shards. She set them on the counter, edges clicking. "Because she told me, in her own kitchen, years before you were tall enough to reach the table." The girl's eyes narrowed. "You knew her. I worked for her, before the judge sent me away." The words sat heavy between them. The girl didn't speak right away, but her shoulders straightened. "Why'd he send you away?" The housekeeper's jaw worked. She reached for the kettle, poured the water into the sink. Steam hissed. "Some questions are only me, and for men who'll lie to you." "So you won't answer?" "Not to you." The girl stepped right up to the counter now, the distance gone. Her voice dropped. "They say you hit someone, hard enough they didn't get up." "They?" The housekeeper's laugh was short. "I've heard what they say." "Is it true?" The housekeeper brushed porcelain dust into her palm, letting it spill into the bin. "What would you do if it was?" "I'd know you're not scared of anyone." The woman looked at her fully then, something sharp in her expression softening for a blink. "You think that's a good thing?" "In this house, it's the only thing." The kettle still dripped into the sink. Outside, the wind pressed against the siding. Somewhere in the hall, a clock ticked loud enough to feel. "Your father wouldn't like you talking to me," the housekeeper said. "He doesn't like me talking to anyone. That's not the same as me." "Close enough." The housekeeper picked up the smallest shard, the one with the painted blue flower still intact. She held it up to the light. "When this cup was whole, it was worth something." "It's still worth something. Not to your father. To me." The housekeeper's eyes searched hers, quiet but deliberate. "Why?" "Because it's hers." They stood like that, the air thick between them. The girl's boots scuffed the floor as she shifted her weight. "You're stubborn," the housekeeper said. "So are you." The woman placed the flower shard into the girl's hand. "Keep it then, but hide it." "From him? From everyone?" The girl curled her fingers around it. "I'm not scared of him." "You should be." "Are you?" The housekeeper turned away, rinsing the counter. "Fear's a luxury I lost a long time ago." The girl lingered, watching her work. "What's it like?" "What?" "Losing it." The woman didn't turn. "Like walking barefoot in snow until your feet stop feeling cold." The girl's voice thinned. "I don't want to lose mine." "Then keep it close. And quiet." The wind outside rose, shaking the windows. A loose shutter clapped against the siding. Neither moved toward the sound. The girl glanced at the bin where the broken pieces lay. "You really didn't drop it?" The housekeeper's shoulders lifted slightly, then fell. "I heard it before I saw it fall. That doesn't make sense." "It doesn't have to." The girl took a step back, the shard still in her hand. "You're not like the others." "No." "Good." The woman turned to face her again. "That's not always good." The girl didn't answer. She walked to the doorway, then paused. "If it wasn't you, then who?" The housekeeper's gaze slid to the empty table, to the chair tucked too neatly under it. Her voice was low. "Best not to ask that." The girl's eyes followed her look, then darted back. "You mean—" "I mean finish your schooling before you try to understand this house." The girl gripped the doorframe, her knuckles pale. "You don't scare me." "I'm not trying to." The girl's chin lifted. "Then maybe I'll come back tomorrow." "Suit yourself." The girl stepped out into the hallway. The housekeeper watched until her shadow vanished. In the kitchen, the wind's whistle died down. The kettle sat empty in the sink, a faint ring of steam still clinging to the metal. The housekeeper dried her hands, her eyes lingering on the space where the cup had fallen. She picked up the broom, but didn't use it right away. From somewhere deep in the walls came a small, dull sound, like porcelain shifting against wood. She set the broom down. Her gaze returned to the counter, to the missing flour shard. A slow breath escaped her. The room felt smaller than it had a minute ago. Steam still curled from the kettle, the air in the kitchen damp and warm. The housekeeper set 2 cups on the table without looking toward the doorway. She reached for the tin of sugar, lifted the lid, and let her fingers rest there. A moment longer than needed. Then she chose the other tin. The salt fell in a slow stream, whispering against the porcelain. From the hall came the sound of boots. The girl stepped in, braids swinging, eyes landing on the cups. "You making tea?" "Something like it." "You don't drink tea." "Not for me." The girl came closer, glancing at the second cup. "What's wrong with it?" "Nothing you can't swallow." The girl's lips pressed together. "That's not an answer. It's the only one I'm giving." The girl reached for the cup, lifted it, and sniffed. Her eyes narrowed. "That's not sugar. You've got a sharp nose. You did it on purpose." "Maybe." "Why?" "To see if you'd drink it anyway." The girl set the cup down, fingers tapping the rim. "You think I won't? I think you will." They stared at each other, the steam rising between them. Outside, the wind rattled the loose shutter again. A hollow, uneven clap. The girl picked up the cup and took a sip. Her face didn't change, though her throat worked hard. She set it down slow. "Happy now?" "You didn't spit it out." "You wanted me to?" "I wanted to know how far you'd go just to prove something." The girl sat in the chair across from her. "And now you know." The housekeeper leaned back, folding her arms. "Not enough." "Then ask me something worth answering." The kettle still hissed faintly on the stove. The room smelled faintly of metal and salt. "You shouldn't push me," the housekeeper said. "Why not?" "Because I push back harder." The girl's chin lifted. "Good." A door shut somewhere in the house. Footsteps came slow and deliberate down the hall. Both turned toward the sound without speaking. The judge stepped into the kitchen, his coat still buttoned, hat low over his eyes. He looked from the girl to the housekeeper, then at the cups. "What's this?" "Tea," the housekeeper said. He crossed to the table, lifted the girl's cup, sniffed it. His jaw tightened. "Salt?" The girl spoke before the housekeeper could. "I drank it." The judge's gaze shifted to her, cold and steady. "Why?" "She gave it to me." His eyes moved back to the housekeeper. "That true?" "Yes." "You trying to be clever?" "Not clever." "What then?" "Honest." The judge set the cup down hard enough that the liquid trembled. "This is my house. We don't play games here." "Didn't feel like a game," the girl said. "Quiet," he told her, without looking. The girl didn't move, but her hands curled into fists on her lap. The judge's focus stayed on the housekeeper. "You work here to serve, not to test my daughter. She's stronger than you think." "That's not your place to decide." The housekeeper didn't lower her eyes. "Maybe it should be." The room seemed to pull tighter around them. The judge stepped closer, his shadow stretching across the table. "Careful." "I am." For a moment, no one spoke. The kettle's faint hiss filled the gap. The judge finally straightened. "Clean this up, and make something fit to drink." He turned toward the door, but the girl's voice stopped him. "I liked it." He didn't turn back. "No, you didn't. I did. You're too young to know what you like. Or maybe you don't want me to." The judge's shoulders stiffened, but he kept walking. His footsteps faded down the hall until the front door opened and shut. The kitchen felt different once he was gone. Less air, more weight. The girl looked at the housekeeper. "You didn't flinch. Neither did you." "What now?" The housekeeper poured the salted tea into the sink, rinsed both cups. "Now we see who lasts longer." The girl smiled faintly. "I will." "You sure about that?" "Yes." The housekeeper studied her a moment. "Then we start tomorrow." "Start what?" "You'll know when it begins." The girl leaned forward. "You're no afraid of him. Does it look like I am? No? Good. Then don't be either. But don't go looking for trouble you can't walk out of." The girl glanced toward the door where the judge had gone. "I think trouble's already here." The housekeeper dried the cups and set them on the shelf. "Then it's just a matter of who sees it first." The girl tilted her head. "You mean him?" "I mean everything he keeps locked up." The wind outside dropped to a low hum, the loose shutter falling still. The kettle sat silent now, a thin ring of salt around its base. The girl reached for the tin still open on the counter. She dipped a finger in, touched it to her tongue. You used a lot. Too much. Why? To make sure you couldn't mistake it for sweet. The girl's smile lingered, small but certain. Maybe I like bitter. The housekeeper's eyes met hers, steady. That's not bitter. That's something else. What? You'll find out. They stayed there a while longer, not speaking. The light from the window caught on the rim of the empty cups, pale and cold. Somewhere down the road, a horse passed at a slow trot, the sound fading into nothing. The girl finally stood. If you wanted me to quit, you should have tried harder. I don't want you to quit. Then what? I want you to learn. The girl stepped toward the doorway. About what? The housekeeper's voice followed her out. About surviving in a house that's trying to starve you without taking your plate away. The girl stopped, looked back once, then kept walking. Her footsteps faded up the stairs. The housekeeper stayed at the table, hands resting flat on the wood. Her gaze drifted to the tin of salt, still open, the light glinting off the grains. She closed it slow, set it back on the shelf. Her fingers lingered on the lid. Outside, the wind picked up again, rattling the shutter once before dying down. She reached for the kettle, pour, add the last of the water into the sink, and watched the steam vanish. The cup hit the sink with a hollow ring, the sound chasing her into the dim hall. The lamps were low, the air thick with the day's leftover heat. Upstairs, a door shut slow. The girl paused, listening. Somewhere deeper in the house came a voice, low, uneven, like it wasn't meant to be heard. She followed it past the pantry, through the narrow back hall where the wallpaper curled at the seams. The back stairs were steep and shadowed. Halfway up, the housekeeper sat on a step, her elbows on her knees, head bent. Her words floated in a jagged rhythm. Men who burn houses, doors that lock from the outside. Keep the matches dry, keep the matches dry. The girl froze on the bottom step. Who are you talking to? The housekeeper's head snapped up, eyes catching the lamplight. Go back to bed. Not until you answer. This isn't for you. It's in my house. It's his house. That's not what I asked. The housekeeper stood, her boots silent on the wood. She stepped down one stair, then another, closing the space. You shouldn't creep around at night. You were the one whispering, and you were the one listening. The girl's hand brushed the banister, fingers tight. What's a door that locks from the outside? The housekeeper's eyes didn't blink. A door you don't open once it's shut. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. The girl stayed where she was. Why were you saying it? To remember. Remember what? The housekeeper stepped close enough that the girl could smell the faint scent of smoke in her clothes. The last time a man thought fire would fix his problems. The girl's voice dipped. Was it him? The woman's silence was too long. Go upstairs. No. The housekeeper's jaw flexed. You think standing here makes you brave? I think not moving makes me win. The woman took one more step, their faces level now. Don't test me. I already did. With the salt. This isn't salt. Then what is it? Danger. The stair creaked under their weight. Somewhere far off, a shutter banged once and went still. You're scaring me, the girl said. Good. I thought you didn't want to. I thought you didn't scare easy. They stared at each other, the air between them warm and close. The girl spoke first. You said men who burn houses. How many? One was enough. What happened? Walls fall faster than you think, and smoke makes you forget the way out. Whose house? The housekeeper's gaze shifted toward the hall, toward the side of the house the girl wasn't supposed to wander. It doesn't stand anymore. Was anyone inside? Don't ask questions you don't want answered. I do want them answered. Not tonight? The girl's voice sharpened. Why do you work here if you hate him? That's not what I said. It's what you meant. The woman's breath left slow. Maybe I came back to finish something. The girl's grip on the banister eased, just a little. Finish what? You'll see. That's not enough. It's all you'll get until you stop asking like a child. The girl's eyes narrowed. Then tell me how to ask like I'm not. You start by keeping your mouth shut until you have proof. Proof of what? That the person you are talking to isn't lying. Are you lying? Always. The girl almost smiled. Then why should I believe you about the fire? You shouldn't. But you will. The stairs groaned as the woman moved past her, heading toward the kitchen. The girl followed. You didn't tell me what a door that locks from the outside is for, the girl said. The housekeeper didn't look back. Keeping something in? Or someone? Same thing. The girl stopped at the bottom of the stairs. Are there doors like that here? The housekeeper's hand froze on the kitchen doorway, then dropped. Go to bed. That means yes. It means I'm done talking. The girl stepped closer again. You keep saying things like you want me to hear them. Maybe I do. Then why stop? Because some truths only live at night, and you're not ready to keep them until morning. The girl's voice lowered. Try me. The housekeeper finally turned, her face unreadable in the low light. If I told you, you wouldn't sleep. I don't sleep much anyway. You'd sleep less. Good. The woman studied her for a long beat. You're going to be trouble. I already am. The housekeeper almost smiled. Then we understand each other. They stood in the kitchen now, the only light coming from the stove's dying embers. The girl glanced at the back door, then at the hall that led to the judge's room. Does he know? About the fire? About you? He thinks he does, and he's wrong? The housekeeper didn't answer. The girl crossed her arms. You're not going to scare me away. Not trying to. Then what are you doing? Making sure you know the house isn't the only thing that can keep you locked in. The wind outside rose again, carrying the faint smell of rain. The girl tilted her head. Are you warning me or threatening me? Both. That's not fair. Fair's for people who can afford it. The girl took a step toward her. And if I don't listen, then you'll find out if the door's already shut. For a moment, neither spoke. The faint tick of the hall clock marked the space between them. Finally, the housekeeper stepped back, reaching for a match to light the stove. The flame caught, throwing her face into sharp relief before settling into a low glow. You're not ready to know the rest, she said. Then make me ready. That's not horror. It works. Then how? You wait, and you watch, and you don't ask twice. The girl's hand brushed the edge of the table. I don't like waiting. Then you'll hate what's coming. The match burned down to her fingers. She dropped it in the stove, closed the door, and the light dimmed again. The girl stood still, the dark folding around her. I'm not going back upstairs. Suit yourself. The housekeeper moved toward the pantry, her shadow stretching along the wall. But if you hear the lock click, you'd better be on the right side of the door. The girl's voice followed her. And which side is that? The woman didn't turn. You'll know when it's too late. The pantry door creaked shut. The girl stayed where she was, listening to the house breathe around her, the wood settling, the faint whisper of the wind finding its way through old seams. Somewhere above, a board popped like a slow step. She didn't move. The floorboard creaked behind her. The girl turned, but the judge was already there, blocking the narrow hallway. His coat hung open, the faint smell of cold air clinging to it. You've been busy, he said. She didn't move. I live here. Don't play with me. I'm not. His eyes narrowed. You've been around her. The girl didn't answer. I told you to keep your distance from that woman. She works here. She works for me, not you. The girl's voice stayed flat. I know. He stepped closer, his shadow stretching over her. Then you'll do as I say. Why? Because I said so. That's not a reason. It's the only reason you need. She held his gaze unblinking. You don't like her. I don't trust her. Same thing to you. He let the silence sit heavy before speaking. You think she's your friend? No? Then why are you around her? Because she doesn't talk to me like I'm a child. She's dangerous. She's honest. His voice sharpened. Honest people don't last long. Maybe that's why you're still here. His jaw tightened. You're testing me. I learned from you. A door opened down the hall. Neither turned. The sound of fabric shifting carried faintly from another room. She's not what she seems, the judge said. Neither are you. You think you know her. I know you hate her enough to warn me. That should be enough. It's not. His hand brushed the wall beside her, blocking her path. I've kept you safe in this house. Safe from what? From the kind of woman who burns her bridges and other people's homes. Her eyes didn't flinch. She told me about that. She told you her side, and you're telling me yours? He leaned in just enough for his voice to drop. Mine's the truth, in your version. His teeth showed for a second, not quite a smile. You're too young to understand what people like her are capable of. I'm not too young to see what you're afraid of. The sound of folding cloth drifted from the open doorway nearby. The girl glanced toward it. The housekeeper stood inside, her head bent over a dress laid flat on the bed. She smoothed each fold with slow, exact hands, never looking up. The judge noticed too, his voice lowered. You're listening, aren't you? The housekeeper didn't answer. Her hands moved again, crease by crease, precise as clockwork. The girl shifted her stance. Maybe she's listening so she can tell me the rest later. You'll do no such thing, he said. You can't stop me from talking. I can make sure you regret it. Her tone stayed steady. You've tried that before. The judge's eyes darkened. I'm warning you, child. And I'm telling you I'm not scared. He held her gaze for a long beat. That's the problem. From the other room, the dress was folded once more, corners meeting perfectly. The housekeeper laid it aside, reached for another. The sound of fabric was the only thing filling a silence now. The girl stepped back, forcing him to move if he wanted to stay in her way. He didn't. She started down the hall. If she's as dangerous as you say, then maybe she's the only one worth listening to. Don't mistake defiance for wisdom, he called after her. She didn't look back. And don't mistake control for respect. The judge stood still until her footsteps faded. Then he turned toward the open doorway. She's young, he said to the housekeeper. So was I, she answered, still smoothing the cloth. You'll stay away from her. Her hands paused for half a breath, then continued folding. I'll stay where I'm needed. That's not for you to decide. It's exactly for me to decide. The judge's eyes narrowed. You think I won't send you packing again? I think you need me here more than you want to admit. He stepped closer to the doorway. You're overstepping. And you're losing your grip. The judge's face stayed unreadable, but his hand closed once into a fist before loosening. You stay out of my family, he said. The housekeeper placed the folded dress on the small stack at the foot of the bed. Then stop treating her like she's already broken. His jaw tightened again. You'll regret pushing me. I've regretted worse. Neither moved for a long moment. Then the judge turned, his boots heavy on the floorboards as he walked away. The housekeeper watched the doorway until he was gone. She picked up another dress, shook it out, and began folding, the same slow, deliberate rhythm as before. Down the hall, a door shut, and the house fell quiet. Her hand still gripped the banister. The judge's footsteps had long since faded, but the house felt tight around her, as if the walls were listening. She let go slow, glancing toward the back hall where the servants' quarters were kept shut. The door at the end was plain, its brass knob dulled from years of use. The lock, a small dark mouth just above it. She had seen the housekeeper go in, always with a key, always quick. Now the housekeeper was outside, she knew. She'd heard the screen door creak, the sound of boots crossing the porch. The girl moved down the hall. The floor groaned once beneath her. She froze, then went on. The knob turned without resistance. The door swung inward with a whisper. The room smelled faintly of old smoke and starch. Curtains hung heavy over a single window. A narrow bed sat against the wall, its quilt worn thin. On the desk lay a small wooden box. She lifted the lid. Inside, under a square of cloth, was a sheriff's badge. The metal was dull, its points nicked, the engraving worn. She touched it with her fingertips and felt the faint dent of a bullet mark. Beside it was a folded apron, pale once but now stained a dark, dried red across the middle. She didn't need to guess what it was. She set both aside and found a stack of letters bound with black string. The paper was yellowed, edges soft from handling. No names showed on the outside. She slid the top letter halfway out, the ink faint but still legible. She didn't have time to read more than the first line before the floor behind her gave a small, deliberate creak. She turned. The housekeeper stood in the doorway, one hand still on the frame. Her eyes moved to the desk, then back to the girl. You've got nerve. The girl didn't hide the letters. It wasn't locked. It's always locked. Not tonight. The housekeeper stepped inside, shutting the door behind her. Put those back. Tell me what they are. No. Then I won't. The woman moved closer. You think I won't take them from you? You'd have to touch me. I've done worse. The girl's voice stayed steady. I know. They stood on either side of the desk now, the letters between them. The housekeeper glanced at the badge. That's not yours. It's not yours either. It was once. You were a sheriff? Something like it. And the apron? Something worse. The girl studied her face. Whose blood? You don't want that answer. I do. The housekeeper's eyes flicked to the letters. Those will tell you more than I will. Then let me read them. They're not for you. Then why keep them? To remember who needs paying back. The girl didn't blink. Does that include him? The woman's silence was enough. The girl slid the top letter all the way free. The housekeeper's hand shot out, gripping her wrist. Not hard, but enough to still her. You read that. You can't unread it. I'm not scared. You should be. They stayed like that, the air in the room close and warm. The girl eased her wrist free without pulling away completely. If you didn't want me to find this, you should have locked the door. I did. Then how? The housekeeper's eyes narrowed. You have the key. The girl didn't answer. The woman stepped back half a pace, not in retreat, but in something else. Assessment. If you've got it, you keep it. But it comes with weight you don't want. Maybe I do. No. You want to win. That's different. The girl set the letter down, untied the string around the stack. What if I read all of them? Then we stop talking in hints. That sounds better. It's worse. She lifted the badge, felt the cool metal in her palm. Why'd you keep this? To remember what I was before they took it? Who's they? Everyone who smiled when it happened. And the apron? To remember what I did after. The girl looked at her fully. Are you dangerous? Yes. Good. Not to you, not unless you make me. The girl smiled faintly. I already did, didn't I? The housekeeper's lips curved just enough to be almost something like a grin. Maybe. They stood close now, the desk between them no longer a barrier. The letters lay untied, the apron folded but visible, the badge in the girl's hand. The housekeeper's voice softened. If you keep these, you keep my past with you. That means if it comes for me, it comes for you too. The girl didn't hesitate. Then it'll have to go through me first. A slow breath left the woman. She reached out, not to take the badge, but to close the girl's fingers around it. Don't show him. Ever. I won't. They stayed like that, her hand over the girl's for a moment longer than needed. Then the housekeeper stepped back, began refolding the apron with the same deliberate care she used for dresses. The girl watched, not moving, the letters still loose in front of her. When the apron was set aside, the woman reached for the stack. The girl let her take it. The housekeeper retied the black string, placed the letters back in the box, and shut the lid. She left the badge in the girl's hand. Now you've got a piece, she said. Of what? The story. Then tell me the rest. Not yet. The girl slipped the badge into her pocket. You can't stop me from looking for it. I don't want to. She stepped toward the door, the housekeeper moving aside just enough to let her pass. Before she left, the girl looked back. If he finds out, he won't. And if he does? Then we both burn. Neither smiled. The girl walked out into the hall, the floor cool under her bare feet. Behind her, the door shut with a quiet click. Not locked, but closed. Outside, the porch boards creaked again. The judge's voice called faintly from somewhere beyond the kitchen. The girl touched the badge in her pocket and kept walking. Inside the locked room, the housekeeper stood with her back to the door, her hands flat on the desk. She stayed there until the sound of the girl's footsteps was gone. Then she opened the box once more, looked at the letters, and shut it again. This time, she locked the door. The slam of the servants' room door still echoed in the girl's ears when the housekeeper's hand closed around her wrist. Come, the woman said, her voice low but firm. The girl stumbled after her down the narrow back steps, out into the chill night air, the barn loom. It in the dark, its roofline a jagged shadow. Behind it, an orange glow flickered against the ground. The smell hit first, dry wood, singed cloth, something older under it. What is it? The girl asked. You'll see. The housekeeper didn't let go until they were clear of the yard. Then she stepped aside, letting the girl face it. A small fire burned in a low pit, flames chewing at a pile of boards and cloth scraps. Why? The girl asked. The housekeeper didn't answer. She bent, fed the fire with a length of split timber. Sparks jumped. You're burning something that matters, the girl said. That's the point. The girl moved closer. Whose things? The housekeeper's eyes caught the light. Mine, his, theirs? Whose theirs? A pause. Then, men who didn't knock before they came in. The girl waited. They wore badges. The housekeeper's voice was flat. Not like the one you found. The girl stiffened. You think I didn't notice? The housekeeper said. You locked the room. Locks keep out animals, not people who want in bad enough. They stood in the firelight, the barn's side wall to their backs. What happened to you? The girl asked. The housekeeper poked at the flames with a stick, breaking a charred board in half. Farm. Middle of nowhere. I was 16. He came with papers, said we owed money. Sheriff signed it. They took the horses first. The girl didn't speak. Then they came back at night, brought fire with them. The girl's voice was low. And I didn't open the door. The fire popped. A shard of ember spun into the dirt. You stayed inside? I stayed alive. The girl took a breath. What about the others? The housekeeper's jaw worked. They didn't. For a moment, neither moved. The flames swayed in the cold air, shadows breathing against the barn. The girl stepped closer to the pit. So, you burn things now? Some things don't deserve to be kept. Or you're hiding them. That too. What was in there? The girl nodded at the blackened cloth curling in the heat. A shirt, badge, piece of rope. Rope? The housekeeper glanced at her. You ask a lot. You answer most. The woman's lips twitched. Not a smile, not yet. You afraid of me? She asked. No. You should be. Why? Because you want to know more than is good for you. The girl crossed her arms. Maybe I can handle it. The housekeeper turned back to the fire. Handles one thing, carries another. They watched the boards sag and fold in the flames. The girl spoke again. If you're trying to scare me off, it's not working. Not my aim, then what is? The woman didn't answer right away. She stood with her hands in her coat pockets, the firelight painting her face in shifting gold and shadow. I want you to see what happens when you keep something too long. Things? Secrets. The girl's throat felt tight. What if you need them? Then they own you. The wind shifted. Smoke curled past them toward the open field. You ever tell the judge? The girl asked. About what? About the sheriff? About the fire? The housekeeper's voice cooled. He doesn't ask. You could tell me. I could. But you won't. Not tonight. The fire was lower now, flames licking at what was left. Is that why you came here? The girl asked. Here? To this house, this job. Jobs are a kind of hiding. The girl studied her. And me? You're not hiding. Maybe I am. The woman gave her a sidelong look. From what? The girl didn't answer. You think I don't see it? See what? That you're looking for something to hold on to. The girl's hands clenched inside her sleeves. Maybe I am. Then pick something that won't burn. Silence. The wind sighed through the barn boards. The girl said, What if it's you? The housekeeper's eyes flickered in the firelight. She didn't move, didn't speak for a long moment. Then you're a fool, she said at last. Or I know what I'm doing. The fire collapsed inward, embers glowing in the arc. The woman stepped back. Come on, it's cold. The girl didn't move. You done burning? For now. What happens to what's left? Bury it. Let the ground have it. They walked back toward the barn, their boots crunching on frost. The glow faded behind them. You going to tell the judge where we were? The girl asked. Not unless you do. Why would I? The housekeeper's voice was almost soft. Because you are still deciding whose side you're on. The girl stopped. And if I've decided? The woman didn't turn. Then I hope you're right. Inside the barn, the smell of hay and animals pushed out the night air. The housekeeper picked up a shovel leaning against the wall and carried it back outside without a word. The girl followed. They returned to the pit. The woman shoveled dirt over the embers until no light showed. Done, she said. The girl asked, Is this where you buried the others? The shovel paused midair. No. Then where? The woman set the shovel down. You don't want to know. Yes, I do. The woman met her eyes. Not tonight. They walked back in silence. The barn door shut behind them with a heavy sound. The rain-scented air carried in through the open hallway, thick and damp, pressing against the walls. Thunder rolled low, like something turning in its sleep. The lamps flickered once, then went black. The girl stood in the kitchen doorway, eyes adjusting to the dark. Somewhere deeper in the house, floorboards creaked slow. She followed the sound. The housekeeper sat in a chair by the window, barely visible in the flash of lightning. Her hand curled tight around the badge. You lose the lights often? The girl asked. Not often. You waiting for them to come back? Maybe. Or you just like sitting in the dark? Sometimes the dark's cleaner. The girl stepped closer. Cleaner than what? Than light. Wind slid around the corners of the house, right, and hit the porch roof in uneven bursts. The girl leaned against the doorway. You holding that badge like it's going to bite you, she said. It already has. How? The housekeeper's eyes didn't move. Long time ago, before you, before the judge, before him too. The girl crossed the room. She stopped close enough to see the lines of the housekeeper's knuckles. I'm sleeping in here, she said. No, you're not. Yes, I am. Why? Because I want to. That's not a reason. It's mine. Lightning lit her face, then left it in shadow again. You got your own room, the housekeeper said. I know. Then use it. No. The house groaned in the wind. You think this is funny? The housekeeper asked. No. You think I'm safe? I think you're safer than I am. That's not the same thing. The girl sat on the floor by her boots. Don't care. For a while, neither moved. The only sound was the steady ticking of rain against the glass. You ever hear wind like that? The girl asked. Plenty of times. Sounds like someone walking around the house. It's just wind. You sure? I'm sure enough to sit still. The girl tilted her head. You scared? No. I think you are. I think you talk too much. The girl smiled faintly. Maybe I like hearing my own voice. The housekeeper's grip on the badge shifted. You should sleep. Not tired. You should still try. You telling me or asking me? Does it matter? Yes. Then I'm telling you. The girl stayed where she was. You ever had someone sleep beside you? She asked. Yes. You like it? Depends on the person. What if it's me? The housekeeper didn't answer right away. Lightning flashed again. Go get your blanket, she said. The girl's eyes narrowed. That a yes? It's not a no. The girl left the room, quick steps down the hall. She came back with the blanket draped over her shoulders, hair damp from the open window in her room. You cold? The housekeeper asked. No. You should be. Maybe later. The girl set the blanket on the floor and lay down. The wood was cold, sold, under her back. She could see the outline of the badge still in the housekeeper's hand. You ever tell the judge about that badge? No? Why not? He wouldn't understand. Because it's yours? Because it's mine. The girl rolled onto her side, facing the chair. You think I'd understand? Not yet. You could tell me anyway. Not tonight. The wind pressed hard against the shutters, then let go. The rain shifted to a softer rhythm. You gonna sit there all night? The girl asked. Maybe. You could sleep too. Not with this weather. Scared it'll blow the roof off? Scared it'll blow something in. The girl's eyes stayed on her. Like who? The housekeeper didn't answer. You really think someone's out there? I always think someone's out there. The girl pulled the blanket tighter. Then maybe it's good I'm here. You think you'd make a difference? Maybe for me? The housekeeper looked at her for a long time. You think loyalty's just sleeping in the same room? She asked. No. Then what is it? Doing what no one else will. That's a dangerous answer. I'm a dangerous person. The housekeeper's mouth twitched. Not quite a smile. Not yet. Lightning lit the room again. For an instant the girl saw the badge glint, the edges worn smooth. You keep it close every night? She asked. Every night? Even before I came here? Yes. The girl closed her eyes. I'll remember that. You remember a lot for someone your age. Only the important things. The wind circled the house again, slower now, like it was tired. You think it'll stop? The girl asked. It always does. You think we'll stop? Not tonight. They stayed like that, the housekeeper in her chair, the girl on the floor, the dark holding them both in the same narrow space. The rain kept its slow, steady tap. Somewhere outside, a loose shutter knocked once, then again, and then the sound was gone. You asleep? The housekeeper asked. No. You should be. You should too. The housekeeper let the badge rest in her lap. Maybe later. You scared to close your eyes? Sometimes? Because of what you see? Yes. The girl's voice dropped lower. You think I'd scare you if I was in your dreams? No. You sure? Yes. The girl shifted closer to the chair, blanket dragging across the floor. You're stubborn, the housekeeper said. I know. You don't listen. Not to most people. But you're here. I'm here. The housekeeper's fingers brushed the edge of the blanket. Fine. Sleep. You mean that? I mean it. The girl settled in, her shoulder close enough to feel the warmth of the housekeeper's leg. You ever think about leaving this place? She asked. Yes. Why don't you? Because leaving doesn't erase anything. You think staying does? No. Then why stay? The housekeeper's voice thinned. Because I'm not done yet. The girl opened her eyes again. With what? Everything. The rain softened more, almost a whisper now. The air felt warmer. You think we'll still be here when the sun comes up? The girl asked. Yes. Both of us? Yes. You sure? As sure as I can be. The girl's breathing slowed. I think I believe you. Good. Thunder rolled far away, fading. You holding that badge all night? The girl murmured. Yes. You ever let anyone else hold it? No? The girl smiled faintly. Not even me? Not even you. Yet. The housekeeper didn't reply. The room settled into quiet. Only the faint drip of water from the porch broke it. The house no longer groaned in the wind. The girl's voice came soft, almost lost in the dark. If something happens tonight, you wake me first. I will. You promise? I promise. The girl's breathing eased into sleep, though her hand stayed near the edge of the chair. The housekeeper looked down at the badge in her lap, then at the girl curled beside her. She reached out, just once, and tucked the blanket tighter around her shoulders. Outside, the storm moved on, leaving the house in stillness. Inside, the two of them stayed where they were, as if neither had permission to move. The first light crept in under the curtains, thin and gray. The rain had stopped hours ago. The house smelled of damp wood and cold ash from the stove. The girl was still curled on the blanket beside the chair. The housekeeper hadn't moved all night. Boots sounded in the hallway, heavy, certain. The judge stepped into the doorway, hat still on, coat damp from the morning air. His eyes took in the scene, the girl on the floor, the blanket, the chair, the badge in the housekeeper's lap. "What is this?" he said. "Morning," the housekeeper replied. "I asked what this is." The girl pushed herself up on one elbow. "We slept in here." "I can see that." "Then why ask?" The judge's gaze shifted to the housekeeper. "Explain." "No," she said. "You don't say no to me." "I just did." The judge's jaw tightened. "You think I'll stand for this?" "You'll stand for what you were told to stand for." The girl watched them, blanket still around her shoulders. "She's a child," the judge said. "She's safer here," the housekeeper said. "She's safer where I put her." The girl's voice was calm. "You didn't put me anywhere. I stayed where I wanted. That's not your choice." "It is now." The judge turned back to the housekeeper. "What did you tell her?" "Enough?" "About what?" "About why I don't trust men who wear the law like armor." The judge stepped forward. "You're close to losing your place here." "I never had a place here," she said. The room held still for a moment. The sun rose a little higher, light pooling on the floorboards. "What are you running from?" the judge asked. "Not running, not anymore." "Then say it." "No." "You think I don't know?" "I think you want to hear me admit it, so you can't own it." The judge's voice dropped. "You left a man bleeding in the street." The girl's eyes went to the housekeeper. The housekeeper said nothing. "Is it true?" the judge pressed. "Yes," she said. The judge's mouth twitched. "Finally. But you don't know why," she added. "Does it matter?" "It's the only thing that matters." The girl spoke up. "Tell me." The housekeeper's eyes stayed on the judge. "I will, but not for him." The judge took a slow breath. "You think you can choose who hears the truth?" "Yes." The girl sat up fully, pulling the blanket tight. "Tell me now." The housekeeper didn't look at her. "A man followed me for months, thought I was his to have. The law said he was just being friendly. I told him once to stop, then twice. The third time he touched me, so I put him down and didn't wait to see if he'd get back up." The judge's face didn't change. "That's not justice. That's murder. That's survival," she said. The girl's voice was sharp. "And I'd have done the same." The judge turned on her. "You're too young to talk like that." "I'm too old not to," the housekeeper's voice cut in. "She's not wrong." The judge looked between them, something calculating in his stare. "You're poisoning her. She's making up her own mind." "She's a child," he said again. "She's a person," the housekeeper corrected. The judge's voice rose. "This is my house, my rules." "Then you should have been here last night," the housekeeper said. The girl leaned forward. "Where were you?" The judge hesitated. "I had business." "Business more important than watching your own walls?" she said. He glared. "You think you can question me?" "I just did," she said. The air felt tight. The light from the window was stronger now, cutting across the room, making the dust visible in the air. "You think you're in control here," the judge said to the housekeeper. "I know I am. You won't last." "I already have." The judge's mouth opened, then closed. He stepped back a pace. The girl stood now, still wrapped in the blanket. "If she goes, I go." "You're not going anywhere," the judge said. "You can't stop me." The judge's voice dropped low again. "I can make you stay." The housekeeper stepped forward, between him and the girl. "Try." They stared at each other for a long moment. "You've forgotten who holds the gavel," the judge said. "You've forgotten who doesn't care," she replied. The room stayed silent except for the faint creak of the boards under their weight. "You think this is over?" the judge asked. "I think it's over for you," the housekeeper said. His eyes narrowed. "You'll regret this," the girl's voice cut through. "No, we won't." The judge turned toward her. You don't know what you're saying. Yes, I do. The housekeeper didn't look away from him. You should go. This is my house, he repeated. Then leave it for a while, she said. His face hardened. He looked at the girl, then back at the housekeeper. You've made a mistake. Maybe, she said. He took a slow step toward the door. You'll see soon enough. The girl's voice was flat. We already see. The judge stopped in the doorway. You think standing together makes you untouchable? It makes us harder to break, the housekeeper said. His hand tightened on the doorframe. I'll be back. We'll be here, she said. The judge stepped out into the hall. The sound of his boots faded down the corridor, then out the front door. The faint slam of it closing echoed through the house. The girl let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. You think he means it? Yes, the housekeeper said. You scared? Not yet. The girl's voice softened. You will be? Maybe. They stood there in the quiet, the morning light spilling wider across the floor. You think he'll come back angry? The girl asked. Yes. You think we can stop him? I think we can stand. The girl pulled the blanket tighter and stepped closer. Then we stand. The housekeeper nodded once. They moved to the front window. Outside, the judge's figure was already small in the distance, walking toward the road. His shoulders were set, his pace even, but his fists were tight at his sides. The girl watched him go. Feels strange watching him leave. Feels right, the housekeeper said. You think he'll bring someone with him next time? Probably. You think we'll be ready? Yes. They stayed there until he was gone from sight, the road empty except for the early light and the still air. The house felt different now, lighter in some ways, heavier in others. The girl turned to the housekeeper. You ever stand like that with anyone before? No. You like it? Yes. The girl gave a small nod. Me too. They didn't speak again. They just stood side by side, looking out at the empty road, the silence between them steady and unbroken. The gavel had fallen, but it had landed somewhere else this time, not in his hand, not in his house. Outside, the morning went on.